Not until the bride took off her wedding dress did everyone realize she had been 13 months pregnant. But in order to call off the wedding, she publicly threw away the groom's jewelry that he had bought online for $10. Only then did the groom realize how outrageous his mistakes had been. But by then, it was too late for regret. It turned out that just a short time before, the groom had unilaterally changed the agreed $10,000 bride price to $520. The bride, her face full of astonishment, demanded to know what was going on. The groom explained that the number 520 represents "I love you." Although the bride was displeased, she reluctantly agreed when she thought of her unborn child not having a father from birth. What happened next was even more absurd. Just as they reached the entrance to the banquet hall, they encountered a child blocking their way. Not only had the groom failed to prepare a red envelope in advance, he snatched the $520 bride price from the bride's hand and stuffed it into the child's. Seeing the groom's extreme rudeness, the bride could no longer hold back and declared that the bride price must never be given out as a red envelope. While the two were arguing over this, the mother-in-law walked over, snatched the envelope from her daughter-in-law's hand, and mocked her as an orphan with no family to call her own. She said the bride had no right to demand a bride price, since it was their family's money to begin with. Then the mother-in-law stuffed the envelope into the child's hand. The groom hurried to soothe the bride, promising he would make up the $520 bride price later. Then he cheerfully led his friends into the banquet hall. Even the bridesmaid standing to one side could see that this family was clearly bullying the bride. Only at that moment did the bride awaken from her daze. It turned out the bride had been born into a wealthy family. 3 years ago, she had resolutely run away from home to be with her boyfriend. Her father had warned her that the young man was stingy and petty, saying they would never have a good life together. But she believed her boyfriend was generous and attentive to her. Having said that, she left her father behind to go off with him. Fortunately, her father didn't reproach her too harshly. When he learned his daughter was marrying today, although he still disapproved of the groom, he could only helplessly offer his congratulations. He immediately arranged for a lavish dowry worth $100 million for his daughter and rushed to her wedding banquet. As the bride, full of resentment, stepped into the banquet hall, she heard guests whispering about her behind her back. The mother-in-law even boasted to the guests that her son was capable of marrying a bride who demanded no bride price. When the bride raised her glass and called out "Mom," the mother-in-law instantly took offense. She demanded a name-changing fee before allowing the bride to call her mom. The bridesmaid, seeing this, scolded the mother-in-law for going too far, saying that by tradition it should be the mother-in-law who gives a fee to the daughter-in-law for the name change. Unexpectedly, the mother-in-law refused to be reasonable and demanded a bride price of $888,000. Hearing such a sum, the bride was stunned. Even the bridesmaid couldn't stand it and denounced the family's despicable behavior. The bride immediately demanded to know what the groom meant by all this. Yet the groom dismissed it, saying it was merely a formality. It turned out the mother-in-law knew the bride owned a house worth $888,000. Her real intention was to seize the bride's only asset. At that moment, the groom handed the bride the property transfer agreement and demanded she sign it immediately. In fury, the bride knocked the contract to the floor, declaring that the house was her late mother's only legacy to her and that they would never take it away.